We welcome you to Economic Forum, where we discuss various issues affecting our economy in Zimbabwe. My name is John Masugu. Today we want to look at the role of engineering in our economy, and we've invited the president of the Institution of Engineers so that we look at various disciplines within engineering and how they are contributing to our economy. We welcome you, Thamsanqa Mpala.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
First of all, just tell us what an engineer is within the context of our national development as we strive to get to Vision 2030.
Thank you very much. When we look at engineering, engineering is the application, it is the creative application of science, mathematics, physics, technology that helps to come up with engineering projects for the good of infrastructure development in the country. So with engineering, you have engineers who obviously have a degree in applied science or in an applied field in engineering. Then we also work with technicians as well. And we also work with artisans who actually do the work. So in the context, engineering is basically the creative application of scientific principles, scientific data, research, technology and mathematics, to come up with the broad spectrum of infrastructure that we deal with in our everyday lives.
Yes, as we deal with that infrastructure, just take us through what engineers do in order to use their skills and their knowledge to boost our economy, as I asked you earlier on, that as we move towards 2030, Vision 2030.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that what do engineers do. I think from the minute we wake up in the morning to the minute we go back to bed, all aspects of engineering nature in our lives. So what engineers do is we apply what we call scientific methods, as I explained earlier on, so that at least whatever we design, whatever we conceptualize, whatever we implement, whatever we maintain is correct, has the correct standards. We are adhering to international standards and even local standards so that we protect the public. The infrastructure we design is for public use and is for public enjoy the facilities that engineers would have designed. So it is a meticulous planning and a processed step that engineers, technicians and artisans take from concept right up to commissioning of infrastructure projects. Infrastructure projects, this is what we look into when we talk of dams, we talk of national highways, we talk of bridges. These are assets and utilities that are used by the communities, that are used by you and me, that are used by people for convenience and for efficiency for us to go about our daily lives, therefore impacting on the economy of Zimbabwe in a positive manner.
Maybe at this point, Thamsanqa, you can spell out some of the engineering disciplines, because oftentimes when you're talking about engineering, we think of structures, think of civil engineering, mechanical engineering, electronics engineering and so forth. But what other disciplines are there? And it would be apt for you to actually spell out how they are contributing to our development in Vision 2030.
Yeah, thank you for that. I would say broadly, the disciplines in engineering mainly involve civil. I'll talk about the details a little bit later on. Civil, structural, mechanical, electrical, and chemical. These are the main broad disciplines of engineering. Within civil, you could break it into earthworks, you could break it into roads,
earthworks, there's a lot of earth moving now.
There's a lot of earth moving equipment, obviously, and
so
I'm sure
guys who are moving earth are actually engineers, or they have got guidance from engineers?
They have guidance from engineers, and they're supervised by professional engineers and registered engineers as well. So we all know the highway currently that is being constructed right now. Most of it is done. The Beit Bridge to Harare to Chirundu Highway. That's a discipline or a part or a sector of civil engineering. So it's your earthworks, it's your roads, it's your highways, it's your water and sanitation and sewage services. We look at the value chain of sewage and water systems from point of collection to transport, conveyance, and to treatment. When we talk of structural engineering, this is the detailing of structural engineering application of buildings, and we look at shopping malls, we look at hospitals, schools, anything to do with building, your skyscrapers.
So what you mean,
that is all structural engineering.
What you mean is that if a building falls, the buck stops with you.
That's the engineer who would have designed that.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the engineer who would have designed it. Although there are a lot of other aspects to it, because as much as the engineer would have designed it, you have the contractor, you have the contracting firm that would have been assigned to physically, build the structure itself. So there are a lot of aspects also that come into play, but generally the design is carried out by a structural engineer.
As we move forward, Thamsanqa, how come we see some structures being set up or being built in areas that we are informed are not supposed to have those structures?
Yeah.
Where will you be as engineers? And if disasters do happen in future, how accountable are you?
Yeah, engineers are meant to be accountable. Where you have buildings or houses built or constructed in areas that should not be constructed, a clear example is wetlands or flays or swamps. These are natural systems that are meant to be left untouched. But the minute you have development in these, it means you are short-circuiting, the environmental eco-life cycle, and you have problems with water supply and all other issues. We do have in our statutes, we do have in our standards, such notifications that such development should not happen or is not permitted to happen in such areas where development is not meant to be. So engineers work with town planners, for example. So town planners designate suitable areas for housing, designate suitable areas for construction, and they know the areas that are meant to be left untouched. However, of course, there is the unfortunate incidences or cases where such infrastructure or such construction goes ahead and is built on land or on wetlands on land that it should not be constructed on. In that case, we would raise alarm. And with the Engineering Council of Zimbabwe, they are mandated to inspect such cases, and we report such cases that where construction goes ahead, in areas that are not meant to be constructed on. We have statutes, we have mandates, we have the Engineering Council of Zimbabwe that we work very, very, very closely with, and inspectors who go out there and inspect. Of course, it is a challenge. We must.
It is a challenge.
Okay.
I'll stop here with that challenge.
Right.
That's our first segment gone with Thamsanqa Mpala, who is the president of the Zimbabwe Institution of Engineers, ZIE. We have him as our guest, and we are talking about all matters engineering, but with regards to how engineering contributes to our economy as we look at our Vision 2030. So we'll continue with some of the issues, the challenges that we have mentioned, Thamsanqa, in the second segment of Economic Forum. We are in the second segment of Economic Forum, where today our guest is Thamsanqa Mpala, who is the president of the Zimbabwe Institution of Engineers. We are talking all matters engineering, and we're looking at what engineering contributes to our economy, and we've just defined the role of engineers within an economy and the different types of engineering or disciplines within engineering. Now, we are now going to go to the major projects. We just gave them as examples in passing. But what are the major projects where we are saying, without engineering, these projects cannot go ahead? We saw in some areas where you don't have teeth and the projects have gone on.
Yeah.
But tell us about these and how secure they are.
Well, I'm very glad to say that engineers have played a vital role and a large part in some of the large infrastructural projects in the country. I mentioned the ongoing works right now at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport. It is being expanded. This is a major project that is currently happening and being done by Zimbabwean engineers, technicians, and artisans as well. It is a major project, and I also look at the Hwange Thermal power station. Hwange Thermal Power Station is currently ongoing expansion. It is a $1.5 billion US dollar project. And again, Zimbabweans are at the helm of that. We are proud as engineers and the Zimbabwean Institution of Engineers. And I'm also mention the other engineering bodies as well, who also play a part. Engineering Council of Zimbabwe and the Zimbabwean Association of Consulting Engineers. We also look at
just
the
tell us about the
Beitbridge
thermal project.
Yeah.
What is it supposed to, to turn around in Zimbabwe?
So we used to import, quite a lot of energy from our neighboring countries. The good thing is, upon completion of the Hwange Thermal Power Plant expansion project, we will then import a lot less power from other neighboring countries. It will mean Zimbabwe. It will mean Zimbabwe will be self-reliant, self-sufficient in terms of power generation. And these are things we should be proud of, I think, as Zimbabwean engineers and Zimbabwe by and large as well. That we are embarking on large projects that will then mean we are self-sufficient, self-reliant with our own resources, and that will help obviously achieve the Vision 2030 goal that we are talking about.
While you are mentioning these projects, you keep on repeating that these are being done entirely by Zimbabweans and so forth. How much trust is there now? Because people will say if there is no stamp from another foreign power in the West and so forth, therefore it's not that strong, as happens with even examinations and so forth. So what confidence building mechanism have you had so that when you mention that a project is being undertaken entirely by Zimbabweans, it's a trusted project?
What we do with the Zimbabwean Institution of Engineers and the Engineering Council of Zimbabwe is make sure all engineers are registered. There's a verification process that goes through, and we ensure that licenses are given and renewed annually for anyone who calls themselves an engineer and practices engineering in the country. And the CPD we say is the continuing professional development, of these engineers that we have. So that's the first thing.
And we have institutions which actually are capable of producing such people here?
Oh yeah. Of course. I mean, we've got engineers who have worked on big projects, not only in Zimbabwe, but in neighboring countries. South Africa, for example, in the UK, I know a number of Zimbabwean grown Zimbabwean experienced engineers, who have left, but who have done very well and been part of successful projects, in the region and globally. So
yes, you can continue with the project.
So with the Zimbabwean engineers, that's what I was saying. We work with other engineers. If it's foreign engineers, they do come into the country. They are vetted by the Engineering Council of Zimbabwe. If they can come in and assist on large projects where local expertise does not allow, then we look at such issues like that. There is that confidence. There is that platform or opportunity to collaborate with other foreign national engineers, if you like, or technicians, if you like, where such services are not provided for locally. We do have collaborative efforts, because at the end of the day, we want to see the fruition of these projects coming through for the sustenance of us, so that we have a robust, infrastructure, for the good of for the good of the country.
You can finish off the projects.
Right. The other projects that I can mention are the Beitbridge Border Post modernization project. Again, we commend government for looking into such large infrastructure projects that benefit, cross-border trading between Zimbabwe and between South Africa. As I speak, there are large works happening in Beitbridge, where the border post itself we're looking at the ideas to come up with a one-stop border facility that makes it easy for vehicles, for haulage trucks, for even passenger movement. We're also looking at other, facilities and infrastructure within Beitbridge, so that it comes and matches a world-class facility. We're also looking
at refurbishing of our structures as you conclude this segment. Are you also looking at that? Because there are some old structures which can be refurbished and which can be a danger if not.
So far, what I've talked about is the design aspect and construction, but what I've not talked about is the monitoring, evaluation, and the maintenance. So we call it the whole supply chain. It's the engineering supply chain, if you like, from concept to design to implementation. And then we finish off by saying monitoring, evaluation, and then maintaining. So that would strictly fall under maintenance of engineering projects. It is critical to rehabilitate. It is critical to continue to maintain such large infrastructure projects, be it hydropower, be it solar, be it just even a building itself. It's always important that we maintain, these building infrastructure so that what we say in engineering terms, it lives its design life. So that's what we do.
I'll stop you there. That's Thamsanqa Mpala, who is the president of the Zimbabwe Institution of Engineers, ZIE, who is our guest in this program, Economic Forum, and is telling us all things engineering, different aspects of engineering, and the projects that are being undertaken by engineers, and also building confidence in the public that you can trust our engineers. They are well trained, they are experienced, and they've worked with engineers from other countries. So join us in the third and final segment of Economic Forum. We are now in the third and final segment of Economic Forum, where today we are talking about engineering, and we've invited the president of the Zimbabwe Institution of Engineers, Thamsanqa Mpala, who is telling us all things engineering. We now want to discuss the partnerships, with industry as well as the academia, so that that student who has completed their engineering degree becomes relevant in society. They don't end up doing other things that have nothing to do with engineering. There are so many research papers that we've read about, but some of the things are not implemented. There are so many engineers, as you mentioned earlier on, from Zimbabwe, who are shining in other countries and not here. We even have mayors who are shining in other countries and not here. So bring us back home as to how you are collaborating with academia.
So it's a critical question and comment that you raised there. I'm happy to say that we cherish these partnerships that we have with the tertiary institutions, and here I'm talking about the universities, the colleges, the polytechnics that yearly churn out brilliant students. We also talk of the research councils or the research institutes. We have memorandum of understanding. We have agreements, with these partners, because when you look at a young engineer who is brilliant and who has got a good engineering idea, we want to take that up and take it up through the whole process so that that idea or concept is seen to implementation and to completion.
Tell us about the research papers that are gathering dust, that are not being implemented, what you are doing as an institution to ensure that some of this innovation that is on paper is actually brought to reality.
We're working with the institutions, we're working with the research institutions, we're working with the tertiary academia sector. What we're doing is we actually have a standing committee within ZIE, which is the manpower and training and editorial committee as well. What these do is they liaise with these institutions, the universities where such research papers come out. We then invite and we develop and facilitate platforms like conferences where authors of such research papers, we give them the opportunity to present their work. So
let's now delve into the young engineers that you're encouraging while they're still at tertiary institutions and so forth. You have mentioned them in passing, but what is the benefit so that those who are still studying, those who are still in internship, they can actually join your institution and benefit? Tell them about the benefits.
So what we have is we have within ZIE the Young Engineer Society. What we're doing and what we're trying to say here is to bring them on board, to encourage them and say registering, being part of a professional body has many spin-offs and many benefits. A lot of them are networking, A lot of them are meeting with contacts, meeting with captains of industries, meeting with renowned consultants in specific fields that can help them further progress their careers. We hold various technical tours of engineering aspects, engineering nature. We hold webinars, and these are free, and we hold training courses or engineering principles or anything engineering related that can benefit the young engineer.
Well,
this is under
college.
ZIE and also under college. We have various projects as well. Like I'm sure a lot of viewers will also be aware of the bridge building competition, that we sponsor. Other national engineering, competitions that we hold, the paper competitions that we also host and facilitate. So there are a number of projects, there are a number of initiatives where we encourage that we can call benefits, where the young engineer can be mentored throughout his career, and from a young engineer up to a seasoned engineer. So there are various platforms, events, activities, trainings, workshops, webinars, things that we do that they can come. These are benefits and spin-offs that a young engineer can get.
Thamsanqa, it would be amiss to talk about engineering and we don't mention safety at the workplace and in the homes.
True.
You are talking about being safe where engineers are working,
Absolutely.
but also for the general public to be aware of some of the things that they do that can injure them in future. Say something about engineering and safety.
Health and safety is huge, and I'm happy you touched on that point because it is an aspect that sometimes we ignore, sometimes we tend to forget.
And it can be a step backwards in our economy.
And it can be a step backwards and can cause fatalities, unfortunately, if we're not careful on how we treat the aspects of health and safety. What we are doing as the Zimbabwe Institution of Engineers is collaborating with all health and safety institutions, bodies, so that we align our work with what is expected of engineers. And I'm bringing you on to the code of ethics or code of conduct or code of rules that we have. An engineer abides by these and is responsible to the work that he does, and he has to ensure that it's done according to proper health and safety guidelines and ensure that the proper standards are met. When I started answering, I said that it's an item or an aspect that is kind of ignored or forgotten. We are happy to design, we are happy to implement, we are happy to supervise construction, but the element of health and safety sometimes is left, it needs to be addressed. And it boils down to things like, wearing the correct PPE, protective clothing, on site by all construction workers, and also designing for health and safety so that, in the event of such things, you design for health and safety aspects in any infrastructure that you look into. But look, a lot more needs to be done in the area of health and safety, not only for the engineer and construction workers, but for the general public as well.
Yes. Thamsanqa Mpala, the president of the Zimbabwe Institution of Engineers, who was our guest on Economic Forum today, who has been telling us about all things engineering, starting from us understanding who an engineer is, what they do, and how they contribute to our development, in particular Vision 2030. Thank you very much, Thamsanqa, for coming to Economic Forum.
Thank you very much, Ron. Thank you very much.
If you would like to get in touch with us, you can do so on the numbers that are showing on your screen. And if you have missed some episodes, you can actually visit our YouTube channel, which is Economic Forum Zimbabwe. So on behalf of the production crew, this is John Masuku.